Hello. Welcome to the very first episode of Coach Therapy. I am Coach Q, and I am so excited that you are tuned into this episode. And we're going to talk. Oh, we're going to talk. We're going to open up, and we're going to be vulnerable. Coach Therapy Podcast is all about being vulnerable, being honest with you, for you, right? It's not even about everybody else. It's about you being open and honest so that you can get to a place of clarity, healing, progression, and success. And so we're going to have a good time. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. And so this has been a long time coming. I've had a podcast before. Okay. I used to have a podcast maybe 3 years ago. That was the last time I recorded an episode. 3 years ago, had a podcast. It was called Against the Headlines. And it was all about being unfiltered, right? And sharing truth because I really believe in truth. But I stopped. I stopped. So can I be vulnerable with y'all for a minute to really talk about what's been going on and how did I get back here? Can we talk? This is what coach therapy is about. This is our session. This is our session. This is my session today, right? It's my session. And I'm going to talk to you about what's been going on. So, for about 10 years now, I've been at this coaching thing and I love coaching. Like it is what I've been created to do and I know it. I have no questions about it whatsoever. Right? When you find that thing and you know your purpose and no question about it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. Hence the name Coach Q. For those of you who don't know, my nickname is Quinny. So my first name is LaQuinte and my entire family calls me Quinny. And I never forget one day I was speaking, I had a speaking engagement. This was about maybe I'm going to say at least 6 or 7 years ago. Maybe a little bit longer, but I had a speaking engagement and the lady got up and she was like, um we are so happy to have our guest speaker LaQuinte Brinson, and I was just like, LaQuinte, how did we get from LaQuinte to LaQuinte? But here we are. And I remember getting up and I said, "Hey, I'm LaQuinte Brinson, but I go by Coach Q." And boom, ever since then, it's Coach Q. And I'll never forget, like after I did the presentation, I was selling books and I had this line, and somebody was like, Coach Q, Coach Q. And I was like, minding my business. And then it like dawned on me, like, girl, she's talking to you. I'm like, yes. Right. So it's so funny because I remember like thinking like I wanted to go by Coach Q, didn't know how to make that transition. And then I kind of just stepped into it, right? When I got up there and said, I go by Coach Q, and ever since then, I go by Coach Q. If you're ever around me and my family, you'll hear them be like Quinny, and that's really what it comes from. Rarely do I go by LaQuinte if it's not a professional setting. So yeah, I'm Coach Q and I am super excited to chat with you all to kind of like really get to know each other. I want you all to get to know me. And yes, we're going to have guests on our show on some occasions. I can't wait to talk to other people and to create a session for them so that they get to be vulnerable and reach clarity, healing, progression, and all that good stuff. And then sometimes I'm going to be accompanied by some of my amazing friends who are therapists and coaches as well. And we're going to have great conversations. So you are definitely in for a treat with the Coach Therapy podcast, right? So it's going to be amazing. And I am super duper duper excited. Now, as I said in the beginning, every episode we start with vulnerability. And I want to share with you all some of my vulnerabilities and where I've been with podcasting and I hadn't done it. So, for starters, I had reached a place of burnout some years ago, and it was in 2019 actually. I had reached a point where I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna hold off on hosting some events, like one of my main events that I host, the gala that I do every year. I was like, I'm not gonna do it this year. I just need a year to like catch up, breathe, all of those things. And the only way that I knew how to catch my breath was by giving myself a break. I didn't have the wisdom then that I have now, and I'll talk to you a little bit about breaks and how that could have been different for me. But I took that break. Little did I know that the following year was going to be 2020, and then the world was going to shut down. And so the break got a lot longer than what I anticipated it to be. And then during that break, life happened, okay? And I allowed myself to just stop. I allowed myself to stop. When I took the break, I thought that meant I needed to stop doing everything I was doing and just whew, breathe, focus on me. What I now know is that sometimes a break is changing the way we do things and not stopping them completely. There are times where we just have to rest. I'm not saying that. But in my case, I had outgrown doing it alone and had reached a point where I needed a team and I needed a bigger supporting cast to help me pull off the events that I was doing and things of that sort. And I was burnout because I was trying to do it by myself. And so, yes, I needed a break from lifting a load alone. But what the break needed to be was breaking away from doing it alone and getting others help and support. But I did not know that then. At the time, I was just, ugh, I'm over it. I can't do it. And I honestly set myself back and I pulled myself away from the things that I know I was supposed to do. And so maybe 2 years ago, I was laying in my bed and I heard the word so clearly, coach therapy. I took my phone out and I put it in my notes. I was like, oh, coach therapy, because I knew it was something, but I didn't know what it was. Then I got up and was like, let me go ahead and buy the domain for it because I need to do that. And then later on, let me go ahead and register my business. Did that. I'm one of those people that like, let me do everything, da, 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 da. All of the technical, legal, whatever, I'm gonna do it. Still didn't do anything with coach therapy. Not that I wasn't doing other things, still speaking and working with my other businesses and things like that. But I knew I was supposed to be doing this new thing. And I decided, let me do all of the stuff that doesn't put me at the forefront. I used to think it was procrastination, and some may call it that. But what it really has been for me is distracting myself from the emotions that I feel when it's time to start something new. I'll say it again. I have learned to distract myself from the emotions that I really feel when it's time for me to do something new. I said we was going to be vulnerable, right? I'll take it a step further. When it's time for me to start something new, I let the voices in my head win about it's too many podcasts out there, girl. Don't do another podcast. You don't have everything you need. Don't even stress yourself with that right now. Are you enough? No. Are people gonna listen? Is it gonna grow? Do you have the money to be doing this right now? Do you have the time? Child, the voices and the things that it's just I'm an overthinker. So it just goes on and on and on and on. And so I didn't feel like dealing with the associated emotions. So it's easier for me to do the work on the back end because if I don't launch the podcast, if I don't announce that the episode is dropping, then there's no accountability for that. Right? And I know I am not alone. I know I'm not alone with the voices in your head and the conversations that you have with yourself concerning you and how it's going to turn out and if you can and how should I and what about this and what about that. And boy, we talk ourselves out of it. We trample all over the dream before we actually get it going because of what we don't think that we have. And that was me because I'm being vulnerable, right? Take it a step further. I just start to just say, I don't know. I don't know about that. Yeah, maybe I'm tripping, right? Now it ain't even just the voice in my head. Now it's what I'm telling myself. Like, girl, you tripping. I don't know about that. You might not need to do that. And years are going past and I'm not doing what I need to be doing. Knowing good well, this is a thing though. Sometimes we're not doing what we should be doing because we don't know the value of what we bring. Because thank God he has shown me my value and I understand the value of my gift and what it brings to the table. So it wasn't that I didn't think I was valuable or that my gift was valuable, but it was all of the other things associated with it. And so here I am feeling depressed. Like, man, things just aren't going the way that I want them to go. And little did I know and acknowledge that I've been in the way, that I've been holding myself up from doing what I need to do. And then I'm watching others do the same things that I want to do. And I'm like, dang, I wish I could. Dang. And the reality is, they got up and they did it. That's the difference. This is a thing. Sometimes we compare the scales that people are on, but do you know that there's steps? So how dare I look at where somebody is if I feel like they're on scale 10 and I feel like I'm on scale 2, if I didn't take the steps to get to 10, then where is the comparison coming from and why am I even putting myself on that journey of like, dang, I wish and this and that. No, do what you need to do. So here I am doing this podcast. But I didn't get here just because I'm like woke up and was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Let me tell y'all about my friend Step and how she set me up. So maybe about 6 weeks ago, beautiful Sunday. Did I go to church that Sunday? I didn't go to church that Sunday. However, my friend Step hit me like, "Hey, you want to get some lunch, or something?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna hit you up. I'm gonna come." So we get together, we meet up, having a good time, chatting it up as we do, and we're talking about just some things that we want for ourselves and things that we want to do. And I bring up the Coach Therapy Pod, and she's like, "Oh, okay, cool. When are you gonna start that?" Hmm. What'd you say, girl? I can't hear. When are you gonna start? I said, um, I don't know yet. I don't know. Because listen, don't we love to talk about a dream? Ooh, and all of the ideas and how amazing it's gonna be. Love that. The execution though, child, stop talking to me. Don't talk to me about execution. And so she was like, when are you gonna do it? I'm like, let me look at my calendar. And I go to my calendar and I see that July is kind of light for me. I'm not doing much traveling. It's a light month. So I say, July 31st. Try to go all the way to the last day of the month, giving myself as much time as I possibly can. And she was like, okay, July 31st, Coach Therapy Podcast. Let me see your phone. She takes my phone and puts it in my calendar, schedules it on my calendar. She was like, I'm just scheduling it for you so you can make sure that you do it. And I'm like, okay. Because she done called me out on my idea. Like I was comfortable with it being an idea. And I told you I wasn't ready to deal with all of the emotions and everything else that I feel when it's time to start something new, right? So here it is now on my calendar. I can no longer distract myself from doing what I said I was going to do. And now it's time for me to face me. And it's time to face the emotions that I feel and the insecurities and the stuff that I don't like to talk about out loud. It was time for me to face that. So I'm like, okay. Now, those 6 weeks going by, I'm still procrastinating, thinking about it. Now, also studying podcasts, like watching other folks, like boom, listening to podcasts, like because I'm a huge like advocate or proponent, I should say, for like learning a craft. So I'm like, yeah, let me see. Okay, I like that podcast. Okay, I don't like this. Maybe I want to do that. All of the things that I'm thinking about. Then I talked to my videographer and I'm like, okay, I'll definitely want to go and do the podcast. And I'm gonna rent an Airbnb. I'm gonna get my guest list together and we just gonna do a day filming all of the episodes. Boom, 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 boom. Again, distracting myself from doing it. Now, yes, the preparation is necessary, but I didn't never told the videographer that I wanted to do it by July 31st. It was just in my calendar because if I say that to him, then that's another person holding me accountable. And I'm like, yeah, let me not say that. The day is getting closer. I'm like, all right, I start looking for my podcast equipment because, again, I told you I had a podcast before. I'm looking through my office, like, where are my podcast mics? Where's my stand? And I know that my little brother, Lamont, had used some of my stuff. And so I hit him up. I'm like, hey, bro, you know where my podcast mic and stuff? He was like, oh, yeah, it's in storage. I'm like, storage? What are you talking about? Mind you, he's all the way in New York now. So I'm like, storage? What are you doing? He was like, yeah, I put it in there. Yeah. I'm like, all casual, little brothers, right? So I'm like, okay. So I gotta order some new equipment. And so I've been looking up some equipment. I was like, all right. I tell him, bro, I'm gonna start a podcast. I need, you let me know what kind of stuff I need. And I need, to order the equipment. Mind you, I had already had a podcast. So I knew some of the stuff that I needed. But I wasn't ready to face the emotions associated with really doing what I was supposed to do. So I ended up not getting a mic until last night. Am I proud of that? No, not. But I ended up going to get the mic and I didn't set up with the videographer. And I pulled out this good old MacBook and I said, you know what? I'm going to record on the MacBook. I didn't rent out an Airbnb. I'm at the house. I didn't make a makeup appointment. I did my own. And I said, you know what? Because I got to do it. I just got to do it. And as I got closer to the week, to the day of recording, I just began to be like having all of these thoughts. And the question came to me, how many podcasts do you watch where they don't have everything that they need, but you still watch it, right? I was like, ooh, okay, that's true. And then I started thinking more and more like, why is it that I want everything to be perfect? Am I trying to validate the gift or am I trying to validate an insecurity in me? I'm getting on my own nerves right now when I just said that. Sometimes, let me talk about me. I have been guilty of combating negative emotions by creating the perfect setup. When the reality is, I need to take ownership of the emotion that I'm feeling and combat it by simply showing up. I am learning not to wait for the perfect scenario to do things and to get things done. I am learning that it's not always a clean break that I need. It's a break from doing it the way that I've always done it. That's what I'm learning. And so here's coach therapy. Now I'm doing it. And is it perfect? No. It's not perfect. But I'm okay with that because I have gotten out of my own way, because I have stopped distracting myself from what I feel. And you know what I've learned about emotions is they're true as long as you succumb to them. A lot of times, the things that we tell ourselves and the things that we make ourselves believe aren't really that way at all. The fear of, I just don't know if I can do it. I've started to believe in that, but it's not true. And not until I showed up right now in this moment and talking to you all on the Coach Therapy Pod do I know it's cool. I got this. It's enough. I'm enough right now, like this, without all of the perfections and all the lights, camera, action. It's enough right now. And we live in a world where everything is a snapshot of perfection. I promise you, there is a process before the snapshot. There is a process before I hit start on the video. It's a process. We all have to get ready in some way. But what I will say is that if you do not show up, you'll never know what your picture perfect moment will look like. At this stage in the game right now, it's enough because my hope is through my session today, through my vulnerability today, that whoever is listening to this, you will get out of your way, that you will start the business, that you too will start the podcast. I told myself, I don't know if I should. It's so many podcasts, everybody doing podcasts. And God said to me, but they are not anointed to do it the way that you're doing it. I've given you something special. That's your gift. And there are people that are assigned specifically to you. Talk to your people. And I'm like, well, God, who are my people? He said, you don't know until you start talking. Ooh. And so now I'm talking. I'm talking to my people. And so I don't care if it's a million podcasters out there. There are people who are assigned to me that need what I have to say. So for you who are thinking, I want to start this business, I want stop looking at how many people are doing it. If you know that you're supposed to be doing it, you know you are called to it, get out of your own way. There are people assigned to you that need what you have specifically. Those people are assigned to you. Just like my people are assigned to me. And so here I am doing what I said I was going to do. I got up out of my way. Ooh, I feel good too. I feel so good about this. I feel so grateful to be chosen for this. And I feel even more grateful that you all are listening to the first episode mm, of Coach Therapy Podcast. And it's going to be more. It's going to be more. There's going to be more episodes where I tell my truth and my lessons that I'm learning along the way. I don't have it all figured out. I wish I did, honey, child. I'm still learning. I'm still growing and becoming and evolving. But I do believe wholeheartedly that there is space for me. There's room for my gift. And I believe wholeheartedly that this podcast will be exactly what my people need. So I just want to thank you all for tuning into the very first episode of Coach Therapy Pod. They will be dropping each and every Monday on all platforms. Do me a favor, tell somebody about Coach Therapy and let them know it's their session. If you want to be a guest on the Coach Therapy Pod, hit me up. Coach Q at academyofvisions.com, or you can DM me on Instagram at Coach Therapy Pod. Until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week. Take care of yourself. And if you don't remember anything else from this episode, get out of your own way. Show up. You got this.